Welcome to Sports Geek Q&A. Here's your host, Sean Callanan.
Yes, I'm Sean Callanan from Sports Geek. And remember, you can get in touch and send in your questions in a multitude of ways via social media at Sean Callanan on most platforms, or you can send me an email, sean@sportsgeekhq.com, or reach out to me in the Sports Geek Nation Slack if you are someone who is in the Sports Geek Nation Slack. Don't forget, you can support our podcasting and newsletter efforts via Patreon by going to sportsgeekhq.com/Patreon. First question comes in from Jack Elkins via LinkedIn, former podcast guest and now first-time entrepreneur. Welcome to the world of entrepreneurship, Jack, in your new endeavour. Your question is, what are the top uses of AI that you have seen in sports so far? AI at the moment is obviously getting a lot of buzz, and it has a wide meaning. So I'm going to keep that wide meaning without trying to get too specific. I actually think most of the implementation of AI are actually in high performance, and they're not actually that visible to the wider market, where a lot of teams are using them to analyze stats and the like. But if I look at the fan engagement space, I think the way that AI is being used to improve content production. Like the guys at WSC out of Israel, I had Aviv on the podcast where they're using AI to magically clip highlights and get them to social as quickly as possible. Is a great use of artificial intelligence. And then I think the other piece, and again, it can be debated how much of it's in artificial intelligence, but I also think the automation of fixed cameras in venues that are able to shoot and record and coordinate together to produce a broadcast without people, without cameramen, is going to be a real big game changer, especially in the lower level sports, as it's going to open up more content options for grassroots. But yeah, I'd love to hear from the listeners' point of view. I look forward to catching up with you, Jack, next time we catch up to find out what are the best uses of AI. Like I said, I think a lot of AI work is currently either in stealth mode or in the high performance, which is effectively stealth mode because they don't want anyone else to know what they're doing in the space. But thank you very much for the question, Jack, and all the best with your new business. Question 2 comes from Bass Schnater. And again, I hope I said your name right there, Bass, via Sports Geek Nation Slack. He asks, are there any best cases out there of clubs who are successfully monetizing their content? That is, actually making a profit with content other than selling tickets and merchandising. So it's a tough one to, I guess, answer effectively without knowing how teams are monetizing their content. If you were running digital to dollars, we would be looking to make sure that if the digital content was included in a deal, or it was branded as part of a deal, we would be looking to make sure that that is recorded and the digital team actually has a revenue figure coming in, even if it is a portion of the sponsorship. So I think there would actually be a lot of clubs that are following that model and doing quite well in that space. So spoken about Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment as being one of the leaders in that space previously. Other ways teams are monetizing their content is actually monetizing their expertise around their content. So doing more creative and production work that's non-team related. They've got the skills, they've got the cameramen, they've got the studios, they've got the capacity potentially to do that, and then selling that out in the open market to partners or pitching for work. I know the Adelaide Crows do that in this space. I think the other thing I guess you're probably getting towards, Bass, is also opening up options that we're seeing digital players like the Ringer are doing, developing content exclusively for platforms. So the Ringer are doing some podcasts exclusively for Spotify. They're doing some for another audio platform, Luminary, where they're doing a podcast that's just on that subscription service. I think there's potential for those kind of pieces happening. Cricket Australia is producing a documentary series. It's only going to appear on Optus, I believe. So I think the sales of documentaries and content to platforms like Netflix and the like will be an option for clubs going forward. And I think the only other one, if I'm not taking the club hat off, is looking at some of the players that are leading the way in the subscription business. So looking at The Athletic and Barstool and the like, and that have a really strong subscriber focus, that are really backing the trend of paywalls. Paywalls don't work. They're putting super premium content behind that, and driving fans or customers behind that paywall. So I think it's something we can watch with interest from a sports point of view. But I think the main thing, if we're talking about monetizing your content, is to actually start seeing that, hey, we are producing this 12-part video series with a partner to be attributing that revenue coming in to your digital team. So that is actually seen as a revenue generator, not just a cost or a fulfillment to a sponsorship deal. I think that's really critical. Question 3 came via Johnny via Twitter. It was around, how do you go recruiting an esports pro? And so this is quite topical at the minute. My League of Legends team, Gravitas, is currently in free agency period. The free agency period opened up last week. So all of the players, because most players in our league are on a one year contract, everyone are free agents, and so pretty much the whole league are free agents. So the way I go about it, and I learned a little bit last year recruiting the team for the first time, and was a little bit rushed, and sort of got caught up in, I guess, the emotion of and the race that is free agency. This time taking a little bit slower, which we did at the end, which we did sort of halfway through the process last year. Firstly, I remember that I'm interviewing someone to join my team, and it's someone that we're going to have to work with effectively the next 12 months. So I start with the person, and then I start with what their motivation is for playing the game, whatever the title may be, in our case, League of Legends, and also try to get a bigger picture of what their life is. Does gaming completely dominate their life? Do they have a little bit of balance? Do they understand the importance of balance? Those kind of things. And then also, do they understand where the scene currently is and where they're positioned in the scene? I think that's really important. And then from a digital point of view, I'm really interested in what they want to do from a digital point of view. Do they want to grow their audience? Do they want to engage with fans? Do they want to become a streamer, a content creator? What do they want to do after the game? Do they want to be a coach, or do they want to move into the casting side of the business? So understanding their motivation, especially in the digital space, which is something I think we can provide a lot of assistance with, is really important. And obviously, if they've got a bit of a passion for that piece, it's going to make the content creation a lot easier. And then also, are they a team player? So have they played team sports? How do they communicate? That kind of thing are all key things. Now, there's nothing there that says screams esports, really. It's really their standard interview practices for mine, whether I was hiring a digital marketing coordinator or an executive or a videographer. So all of those are people things. Then the last thing is looking at the skill in the game. Or the last thing for me, because I can't assess the skill in the game. I can't say, oh, they've got a great jump shot, and the stats say they've got a great jump shot, because I know a little bit about basketball, but again, I wouldn't be expecting to assess a basketball team. I leave the assessment of skill in game to others that have the knowledge. So that's where I delegate that to my coaches and assistants to assess whether that person is a good player. So if they tick all the boxes of being a good person and motivated in the right way and balanced, then so they pass through the first couple of hoops, and then we start looking at what do they provide from a skill and game point of view, and will they mesh with the roster we're putting together. Thanks again for your questions. Don't forget, if you've got a question for the Q&A episodes, please send them in, Sean@sportsgeekhq.com, or send it in to my social media at Sean Callanan. I'd love your support on Patreon. You can go to sportsgeekhq.com/Patreon to pledge your monthly support from as little as $4 a month. Until next episode, I'm Sean Callanan, and you've been listening to Sports Geek.
You can reach Sean Callanan via email at sean@sportsgeekhq.com. Find out more about Sports Geek's Digital to Dollars process at digitaltodollars.com.
Go to sportsgeekhq.com for more sports digital marketing resources.